Are there people beating down your door trying to get details? Are they like, camping out at your house like paparazzi? Are they taking snaps as you leave?
I've been debating ways to hint about what I'm going to be doing for our not for season 13, for my part of what we're doing in season 13. And I don't know how. Do you want me to spoil anything here? Do you want me to reference anything to hint at it? Or do you want me to be more slow rolling what's going on there?
I think that's what we're here to do, is to talk about the hints and teases and so forth, because I've said most of this stuff in various places, spew punks and social media and stuff, but there's never been like one place if you're like, hey, what's happening to Dice Funk? If you checked out, if you're like, I actually hate dragons, I think they smell bad and I don't want to think about them, and so you haven't been paying attention, but you were waiting for the new season, what's going on with it? This will be the episode you can listen to know all that stuff.
Well, how do we start here? How do we start with all this?
I guess I should say I think I'm going to publish this as a crew gunk, because that's like the behind the scenes series. So first question, where have the crew gunks been for the last couple of months? Because the show's schedule is new Dice Funk every Sunday forever, never missed one, always Sunday, perfect record. Spew Punk, my bonus show on the Patreon for just $1. That is whenever I can get someone in a call. It's, been mixing it up with you and Dan recently. It's usually Quinn, but she's going back to school. So that's the schedule for Spew Punk. And then Crew Gunk was supposed to be like once an arc. And arcs were usually about a month, but I kept going over this season. Like most seasons are like 40 episodes. This one is going to be 69, I think. I think I'm aiming for 69 episodes, even if that means the last 3 episodes are like 20 minutes apiece. Or
listen. I like the idea of you doing that just to avoid having 67 episodes and being pigeonholed into that there. Yeah. So.
Or the last episode could be like 7.5 hours because I fucked up and went too long, but I still want it to be 69.
I know there was like a plan to do some crew gunk about some aspect of season 12 involving me and the like, but that was contingent on other things happening, and certain recordings got delayed for literal months, it felt like, because of just like scheduling and other conflicts. So there was just a lot of reasons why like a conventional crew gunk wasn't happening. I mean, obviously we could probably do like more retrospectives if we wanted to at some point, but that's something for another day, another recording, another podcast, perhaps,
Yeah, I guess spoilers for the current season 12, if you're not current, but I went into those Cymbeline recordings with you and Sarah, not knowing where they would go. And so when, I sat down one day, I was like, yeah, we'll do a Cymbeline crew gunk next week. And then you all stole the egg from Rex, and it was like, oh, this completely blows up everything I thought was going to happen in a good way. I'm excited. I think it's a really good thing, but now I can't interview you about anything really, because the question, like, I'll be like, oh, what are you going to do with the egg? And you're going to be like, well, it depends on what Dan does, it's like, oh, how are you feeling about this decision? And the only answer would be like, I guess we'll see how it turns out. Like, it just, I feel like it took all the questions away, because the only answer is we'll see. That's the the show. So it was a weird thing there. Also, I was going to do a recording with Quinn about DiCaprio, and once again, spoilers, she blew herself up. And so all the questions about like, oh, what's DiCaprio's plan for X, Y, and Z? It doesn't matter. She's fucking dead now. So we'll talk about post-mortem stuff, but it's just the crew gunk stuff never lined up correctly. Not that I've been lazy, because I'm looking at my desktop. Let's see how many finished episodes I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A bunch of those are season 13. We're doing something a little different. Season 13 stuff is sort of started. We haven't done session 1 yet, which is a confusing thing, I realize. How would you explain my madness, Skitch, what I've done here?
I mean, succinctly, it all started way back in the old year of season 9, Arabella. You wanted me to bring in Trayan as a fill-in because Sophie from Mars had to step out and we needed another character. So the character I originally designed for Arabella needed to join in. But when we did a you and me introduction episode, didn't feel good enough. So we dragged Sarah and Dan in to do Dragon Quest as a side on. And then in the aftermath of that whole like side campaign, well, we did a post-mortem for Dragon Quest along with the main party of Arabella. During the post-mortem of Dragon Quest, you, me, and Sarah bullied Dan into running the idea of a fear biome season of Dice Funk. And the notion was maybe doing a thing like we did in the past of having, like with Rezubian or Banyan, having like 2 campaigns that would cycle back and forth. The ultimate decision you landed on was to impose upon Dan to just run a regular full season in the fear biome as DM, and the courage biome side would become the supplemental campaign that is Patreon gate kept. And that's where we are now. Is that an accurate summation of the order of events?
Basically, you boiled it down to we bullied Dan. That's the important thing, is we got to get his ass at every opportunity. But yes.
Because this is the first season where in the mainline Dice Funk sequence, you aren't actually the GM. You are a player, a victim, in the proceedings.
I wasn't hesitant to turn over the reins to Dan because I trust him. He's a very good role player. He's very funny. He's very thoughtful. That was, perfectly fine. I think he was a little trepidatious about having enough, time and space, but that was 2 years ago. He's had plenty of time and space now. He's ready. But also, one of the factors is there's a lot of people who want to play Dungeons and Dragons with us. We have more friends that are slots on the show. And so... I was trying to think of ways to make that work. Long story short, if you only are on the main feed, season 13 will be the long-awaited pumpkin season, DM'd by Dan. The players for that are me, Quinn, and Laura.
Yep.
And there is a bonus subscriber campaign, which I'm calling 13.5. Also known as Courage, also known as, the name of the location, which is going to be revealed very soon. I don't know why I'm hiding it, but it's in the session 0 we recorded. And the players for that are a rotating cast. I will say I have recorded with you and Dan and Sarah. I'm hoping to record with someone else very soon and maybe more. We'll see. But that supplemental campaign is not going to be tightly interwound with the other one. So if you don't have $1 to spare, it's only $1. You're not going to miss anything.
Yeah,
but it will be fun.
Yeah.
So
and it's one of those things where I think I remember when we were ideating on this in the early going, and I remember the notion of a campaign where you'd have denizens of both biomes going to the other one for some adventure and stuff like that. Because I remember having a trick and treating motif in some of the ideas I threw around. But obviously over time through brainstorming and other matters, the place that Dan has landed on, I think Dan is very happy with the ideas that he wants to do. And obviously you, Laura, and Quinn are really down for whatever is going to be happening. And when it comes to the courage side, I have my ideas. I have the things I want to do in there. And in the session 0 that we have already recorded, we talk a lot about the mechanical concepts about what my character idea is going to be and such in there. And, I'm pretty excited for what it can be like. But we won't know until we actually start recording kind of what it'll feel like to do a thing with, let's say, some rotation in the cast of some capacity, right?
Yeah, so the files on my computer are going to be named Fear 1, Fear 2, Fear 3, and Courage 1, Courage 2, Courage 3. I guess technically they both kind of make up season 13, although I really don't want to take any thing away from Dan, who's worked really hard, and I think he's going to do a great job. But that's where we are with that. That's going to be the bonus episodes should come out every week. I'm not 100% sure. With the rotating cast, I'm not that worried about it. But basically, because Quinn is going back to school to be a teacher, she's going to be around a lot less for spew punks and so forth. And so I feel like the way this feed is shifting is going to be like 2 campaigns simultaneously. That's the main thing. I'll do fun recordings with my friends when I can. That'll be a spew punk. That's what we're calling that. And then Crew Gunk is going to be still like behind the scenes stuff, but also these episodes we've recorded. So like a new thing we're doing this season, instead of doing a Crew Gunk every month, I did them all up front, all ahead of time. I have them all recorded for the courage and the fear, or there will be more courage. But that's why I have so many finished episodes on my computer. Is I guess I'm gonna probably call those crew gunks. I don't know any other better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're basically pre-production. We've also recorded session 0, I should say, Dan and I, which covers both the fear and the courage stuff. So a lot of content. The question is to me is almost like, how do I release these in a way that isn't overwhelming or just stretches things out too long? So there are podcasts that are like bi-weekly. That's not weird. But there are podcasts that take huge breaks between season. But I don't know how, like, as a listener, Skitch, do you have a preference for how you would receive 10 episodes of that stuff
In a row? Yeah. Like for me,
too much?
Yeah, exactly. If it almost feels like it's almost like, depending on what it is, I sort of think of it like I'm watching Lost again. I mentioned this. I've been watching through Lost a second time on another Discord, Lucky Bun, on their Discord server, and we're working through the back end of season 4 right now. And it's that point of the show where like we got some really great episodes and the like. But when you think about, like, this is something like storytelling wise that I've been wanting to try to explore in a season of Dice Funk, actually. I'm not gonna lie, about like doing things like behind the scenes, flashback adjacent stuff to do sort of slightly non-linear storytelling on there. And so I guess to some degree you could imagine, like, I would almost imagine, at least for some of the behind the scenes stuff, cycling that on an every other week basis, or not necessarily on a per arc basis. You could do some other sort of release schedule. But I guess the question is, would you have the courage side crew gunks on the main feed to act as a teaser to entice non-subscribers to sign up on that there?
Wonderful question. I'm very bad at self-promotion. It rarely occurs to me to even try it. That's just how I am temperamentally. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to release them all in the main feed, not as a tantalizing morsel for patreon.com/AustinYorski for only $1, but rather because I think we often refer to conversations between recordings because the cast members listen to each other's episodes. So I think I need to release them all in order the way they were recorded, so that you're not confused when someone in the Fear Set Biome recording says like, oh, as Sarah said in her episode, and that would be weird. So I think they're all coming out to everybody.
Yeah. And I guess the other side of it too is like, would there be, I guess, for like when it comes to other players coming into the courage side, like I've had multiple people ask me for like, hey, how do I audition to be on the show? Or how do we get on one thing or another? And there's always stuff to try to come up with an answer, because we've tried, I've tried to do ShardPoint as a platform to bring other non-regulars onto the show proper, but that's just hard for me to manage and take care of, especially when I have ideas for, like, I want a single contiguous story like a season I'd like to run out, but that requires a lot more stability in the casting and stuff like that, since running one-shots in some cases can be more tiring than a regular campaign.
Yeah, I mean, ideally we would like to do more sharp points, but we all love doing them. But I agree, it's hard to get new people like situated and acclimated. There's actually a lot. This sounds like I'm complaining about, talking to my friends, but
Yeah.
there's a bunch of bullshit with the audio and so forth. It's annoying. I want to give more people a chance to be completely, probably too honest. Everybody huddle close as we enter the brutal honesty zone. I have let people on my show that I regret So I am a little, once bitten, twice shy about it. So I'll just say that and move on awkwardly. But
I mean,
yeah,
listen. You still kept me around for some reason, Austin. So
yeah. After the pun incident, where so many were, it changed forever.
the pun incident. Are you implying that there's a singular pun incident here?
The really bad one. No, so like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of stuff changing behind the scenes, and I want to try to get everybody up to speed. But it's also hard because things are always changing.
Yeah,
If I knew exactly how everything was going to play out, I would just tell you. It doesn't bring me any joy to withhold it. But if I say like XYZ is going to happen on this date, and then it doesn't.
yeah.
That's annoying. But so literally earlier today, as of this recording, Quinn told me that she is not going to be able to DM a season she has been planning to DM. So like that's how quick and
Yep.
significantly things are changing. So I really can't tell you much more than season 13 is going to be great. There are two campaigns. One is for subscribers only. They're going to be fun. I think what's going to happen is when we finish season 12, when episode 69 goes up, presumably the 7 hour finale /
Uh-huh.
postmortem, then we will do the first session 0 of season 13 where Dan and I talk about both settings. And then I will release as many character crew gunks as people can stand. It might take 2 weeks, I think, to parcel that out. I want to get all that up front before we do the episode 1 of either campaign, I
Mm-hmm.
think. So that's my current plan right now. I think that's going to give us the best success because we've all listened to each other's episodes, so we're all familiar with each other's characters. If this doesn't work, we won't do it again for future seasons. We're always experimenting with stuff. That's kind of the fun of the
Mm-hmm.
show, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that should be fine for the most part. Like, in terms of DMing stuff, I have ideas. I've already suggested a few different flavors of ideas, both for like, and a lot of them basically, a lot of them actually revolve around sci-fi adjacent stuff, partially because I am so enamored by my own sort of design and framing of what the Ardlings are and like
Mm.
how they kind of situate themselves in the context we had during Resubian. But I also have other topics in that domain I'd want to tap into. And I had a seed planted for a thing to do with Shard Point that I'd love to find a way to sort of expand upon world wise and also wrap up narratively, because I had an idea for like a final arc for at least the Century book iteration of Shard Point Academy. But that takes a lot of organizing and doing, and even the work you've been doing to organize up season 13 has been, I wouldn't say trying, but it's been chaotic.
I mean, D&D is a famously difficult thing to schedule, right? That's like a huge meme in the community. We're all pushing 40 or so. Half of us are married. It's kind of miraculous, not to toot our own horn, but the consistency we've shown, the dedication is truly something worth celebrating, I think. I'm not allowed to say that. Someone else has to say that about me, but you know what I mean. And we're doing as much as we can. And I think
Yeah.
7, 8 crew gunks will make up for the 2 or 3 we kind of missed. But not that
Mm-hmm.
no one's giving me a hard time. I'm not getting hate messages from anyone. I have gotten a couple of curious questions about, hey, what's going on? But everyone
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yep. 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 And the only thing that I will just do is if I see someone new in the server, I'll bug them to ask me questions about stuff, and hopefully I can at least give answers to as many of those things as I can when they come up. Especially when it comes to lore adjacent things. It's always fun seeing people go through certain seasons and seeing years after the matter stuff going on all the way far back as like season 2 and 3 for that matter.
Yeah, we've touched a lot of lives. I don't say this as like a brag or that may be sound silly, but I've been thinking a lot about when we're done or when we stop in some way, that art will exist beyond us, like genuinely in a way. And I think at this point I'm about to segue into something heavier. I think I'm going to name this episode R.I.P. Johnny. So maybe you saw this coming, listener. But the first dungeon master of Dice Funk was Johnny Maloney.
Yep.
And if you're in the Discord, you saw this. If you're on social media, you saw this. I've been trying to think of a way to talk about this for basically about a month. But Johnny Maloney has passed away. and I didn't know how to talk about it. I actually tried to record a solo thing about it several times, and it wasn't good, not worth listening to. And so I asked Skitch to be with me here. Skitch, I think the only current player who played with Johnny, like Dan and
Yep.
Laura and Quinn came later, I believe. So it's
Yeah.
just you and me from the that cast.
Yeah, because that was Lorelai, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was, and then of course, Sharp Point Academy was the other sort of domain that Johnny occupied in that sort of
Yeah,
space
he
there.
played Scoops,
Yes.
an immortal character.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to talk about, and obviously not all of it is everyone's business,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've kind of gone back and forth on a lot of it. All I can think to say is that for a lot of my adult life, Johnny Maloney was my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
He got sick, and we've known he was sick for a while. It suddenly got worse, and he passed away, and obviously it's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But something I do genuinely believe is that he made a lot of people's lives better, and that no matter what else happens, that you can't take that away. He put like beautiful art into the world,
Mm-hmm.
and it outlives him, and it will outlive me,
Yep.
and that's how I try to conduct myself. Is that when I'm gone, people will say like, maybe he wasn't funny, but he did his best and it made my time easier to bear. I don't know if you have any thoughts off the top of your head, Skitch, but it always is always so much harder to talk about than I think. I keep
Yeah.
sitting down in front of a microphone and being like, let me tell a funny story or something, and then I get there and I'm like, oh damn, fuck, it sucks to talk.
So yeah, user Angry Cookie on the Discord server, Gookie Gox on elsewhere is someone who like knew both all of us. I mean,
Yeah,
because
Holly is that? Are we not saying Holly Christine Brown from Channel Awesome?
I was I I don't want to assume what people want if I want to be addressed by that there, but yeah, Holly from Channel Awesome, one of someone who I even was able to hang out with in person at Magfest once or twice. Was one of those individuals who was sort of like connected to a lot of us, and was the one who broke the news publicly on the server when and this happened. I think you and I both heard the news, but neither of us had made an announcement of it. I think partly because we weren't sure how to announce it or how to word it. And Holly did a really good job. Gookie Gox did a great job just sort of like conveying, a little, of some words of remembrance. If you want to see them, you can. I say the best place to go to is the Season 1 Stone Root channel. The post was made on February 2nd, 2026, about it. And, and one of the points that she brought up that was like, kind of hit on a little bit of what I was dealing with towards the back end of his time, was just that while he had become more unwell, he also had a tendency to kind of push people away one way or another. And it's something that I think for those who have been around the people with long terminal conditions and long chronic and or terminal conditions, sometimes that happens, and it's unfortunate because we want to be as available as we can for them, but at the same time it can be difficult. And when you're just sort of trying to process what's going on at the same time as dealing with whatever you're dealing with in your life and stuff, it becomes hard to be as patient as you'd like when people are in those sort of places. So there are several users on the Discord server who were at least more patient than I think either of us were able to, in terms of giving Johnny time and attention at times when he needed it, showing up randomly in the middle of the night and stuff like that. So for that, I think we're both grateful for those who were able to give him the time in the later parts of his life that when he needed it.
Yeah, who's to say how anyone will react under
Yeah.
those kind of scenarios and situations? God, give me the strength to treat people the way they deserve to be treated, no matter what.
My mom is someone who I look at and she's like, listen, she's one of those people. It's like, she will refer to me and be like, listen, when I get to a point where I can't take care of myself, I'm going to put myself in a fucking home so you don't have to deal with me at that point. Like because she has dealt with geriatric medicine for so long and dealt with her own mother, like going for a long period of time of like being very stubborn and kind of being difficult to be with, unfortunately, when living myself and otherwise. Her mom's just like, nope, I'm not going to put people through that. And, it's like you said, none of us, it's easy to say in the abstract, far away from any of it, how we are going to be like. And moment by moment, we could be very different people than what we hope to be.
Can you imagine just being like, personally, when I know I'm about to die, I'm gonna be very normal and cool about it. I'm gonna react perfectly.
I'm gonna be like, keep popping gamers as I put up the deuces as I'm laying on my deathbed. I'm like, no, I can't say that. That is very glib, of course, but at the same time, it's like everyone's going to be going through that part of things. And honestly, like, I kind of incorporate this is not, and I think it's something that as time passes on, we all have to reckon with in different ways, either as those going through it, but more often we're going to be experiencing it as people on the sidelines in different capacities. So like as you say, Johnny's memory will continue on amongst those that, were able to engage with the art that he was part of. And that includes the poetry that he did for season 4 Valentine, which people still talk about to this day in fond words,
People still talk about Stoner. I mean, it's obviously the show changed a lot since then, but it wouldn't be what it was without him.
Yep.
And he's made, a mark on my life that it's just, completely impossible to think of who I would be otherwise. All the music he introduced to me too on another podcast we used to do. Dan Mangan, The Nationals, Godspeed You Black Emperors, just like foundational stuff that I will always be thankful to him. It's like, I don't want to get too much into the stuff that's nobody else's business, but I just want to, I guess, briefly say that, I don't want to invalidate anyone who had a bad experience with him and be like,
Yeah. It's you know what? I'll also say shout out to Trinity Codex, Conduit of Comics, for their work on making a comic version of Stone Root, which is a product that they had been interested in doing, and they're keeping it up. So
yeah. But I was also thinking that people saw it in the Discord, but not everyone's in the Discord. There are people who only listen on Podbean or Apple or the YouTube or everything. So I wanted to get something in the feed so that people knew, like, it didn't feel like we were ignoring it or something. I don't know.
And it's one of those things where, like, for me at the very least, it's like there's parts I don't want to talk about because I don't want to sort of detract from what people are going through and processing with the news, right? Holly noted that, like, for some of us, there was a bit more of a push away there, and that's just kind of part of what people do at times. And that's why I want to emphasize, if you kind of want to see, how people remember Johnny, come to the Discord server, poke your head in like the Stone Root and Lorelei channels, and you'll see how people are choosing to remember him. And I think that's a more appropriate and more productive way of guiding energy than like trying to reminisce on less than great moments that have happened. We all have points where we're not at our best, and all we can hope for is for those things to be remembered only insofar as we can improve from them, and not a permanent mar on the reputation that we leave behind.
We're in a weird situation because, like, we're not famous, so it's not like we had to put out a statement.
Right.
It's also just not like it's not like we're it's just like a family and it's nobody else's business. So it's like a weird thing where it's like semi-public. I don't know.
Right.
It's a new kind of thing to navigate, kind of, in the world.
I mean, like, and if I were to think about it, like, the whole thing started because of you, Johnny, and Leon, right? With Word Funk.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, the borderline joke of just doing a thing, doing a D&D podcast, and uh the fact that like so many little things would snowball out from doing that, you know? I remember when you finally invited me to be in season 2 when I offered to be a player, and I had to speed listen to the entirety of season 1 in preparation, even though that was only necessary maybe to get vibes and not so much necessary to get like plot relevance. And then,
It was mostly so that you could hear the audio and be like, "That's not good. Let me fix that."
that is not why you asked me to listen to. That is me just imposing myself, saying, Austin, we gotta do something about this. And then when it came to the videos, being like, Austin, we gotta do. Austin, please let me do a title sequence. Please let me do a title sequence. The next stage will be one of these years. Austin, please let me write the theme song for the season. Please let me do it. I don't care if I'm not getting paid.
Yeah, listen, I will say it in front of God and everyone. I encourage you to make as much music for the show as you have time to make. I would love it. I feel bad because, it's you're already doing so much. But if you send me the music, I'll put it in the show. Everyone can hear me. They all know it now.
Usually I need more context for writing it, and by the time that context is established, you've already picked something though, and that's what it's a balancing act, but it's fine.
We have there's 2 months, I think, before season 13 if you want to do anything. Season 13, I actually, a friend of the show, Gio, wrote a song. I think it's called Monster Beach Party, I think is the song I'm going to use for Fear. Courage, I currently have a song that's an overclocked remix, but extremely replaceable if you want to hit it, Skitch.
Well, I'll think about it there, I'll have to think about what sort of references to tap into for it,
Monster Beach Party by my real friend Gio. You're not going to be able to find the theme song to season 13 on the streaming service. It's not there. It lives on my computer.
But yeah, I guess the thing is that it would be nice. That'd be another reason to try to find a way to pick up and kind of like end at least the broader storyline of Shardpoint Academy, the Century book, as a way to sort of tap in on closing that off, in terms of like in Johnny's memory at least. I don't know what I would want to do about scoops and all that there. But we'll have to figure out something on that domain. But is there anything else you wanted to discuss on that territory there? Because we're a little short, all things considered here, but
I will say that, for future seasons and so forth, Laura is working on something, hopefully, that we'll see. I'm working on things. I'll try, if people like Dan, I'll try to put him in the device, get him to come back, put him in a headlock or something. So the show's continuing. We're all having a lot of fun making it, and I want to thank everybody for your support. I don't know how to say this in a way that isn't corny, but supporting the show really changes our lives. Like have made this a possible thing for me, and I can never thank you enough. It's really cool, and it's kind of hard to put into words in a way that doesn't make me sound extremely fucking corny, but I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for everyone who has done that, and I hope you like all the content. There's gonna be so much audio.
Yeah, and I still need to figure out a title sequence for at least the Fear biome. Part of me still wants to do a title sequence for the current biome, even though we'll go nowhere since the Patreon feed is audio only. But I still want to design something for that because I'm always in like design mode for stuff. And I have a stack of character and even campaign ideas on the docket that we could try to dive into at some point to see which ones might be worth exploring. The tough part about trying to go over campaign ideas with you is like there's a lot of the backdressing I want to talk about, but there's a high likelihood that you would be a player in it. I'm not sure how much of that I want to expose to you in advance.
Yeah, you owe me rustling around in your plans. Oh, I'm reminded. A thing I'm doing on Patreon is the highest tier is you can make an NPC for the season. This courage thing I'm doing is extremely like modular. So if you want, your person can be pretty prominent because it's you'll see it's about a group of knights, and you can make a knight and you can be on the show. So patreon.com/Austin Yorsky, and you can have your guy, punch Skitch in the face or whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm trying to think if I want to be cheeky and say something that might reveal something there, but if do you think I should drop a clue about what I'm doing? And if so,
if it's a fun clue,
well, do you want me to make it more ARG adjacent or more blunt?
I don't know if I have time for an ARG. I think you should hit me with that blunt.
Well, like in terms of what I'm doing, I'm very Final Fantasy coded, and I'm always going to be. And while Final Fantasy VIII is not my favorite to play for various reasons, I'm just gonna say maybe I'm a lion. That's the boss theme from that one. That's just gonna be a hint about what's gonna be going on for me. And I don't want to dragoon the point out for too long in this case here.
I love the Black Mages arrangement of Maybe I'm a Lion. That's a good one.
The Black Mages are some pretty fun albums. I remember getting the score book they put out one point while I was in college. I have no idea where the fuck it is, but I remember we played their arrangement of Genova during college at one point in our MIDI band, because we had a MIDI band.
Nice.
In college. But yes, if you at me on the Discord server, I'm going to do feign ignorance about what I just said right now. So
the season 13 channel has been popping for years. People love it. They're so excited for pumpkins.
Is there going to be a 13.5 channel though? We'll see. We'll see if the fans want that. I don't know. Interesting. Well, but all things considered, it's like, we to kind of bring it back to, well, the title of this episode, I wish I was able to have spent more time with Johnny in his last sort of days, but I'm glad to see that he is being remembered as fondly as he is amongst the fan base and those that care about him. So it's good to see that, because after we pass, I think that's the most we can hope for. And I can only hope for the same to happen to the rest of us.
Yeah, that's why I podcast. I'm trying to podcast so good that when I die, people will be like, damn, I missed that guy. He made a good podcast.
I just hope oh gosh, I part of me is just like, oh, I just hope I remembered for more than the review must go on. Nostalgia critic theme. Please don't be the thing that people remember me for.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh well.
Weirdly touching. Weirdly, I think that's a good way to end it. Thank you, Sketch.
Even though we didn't get to read these kind of throughout the episode, the formatting really wasn't kind of like made for it, because there really wasn't like a series of questions that these came from. But let's just say this is just a list of a bunch of real ones, and just kind of get going. Do you want me to start? Do you want to start?
Hit me with those homies.
All right. Martin Porthouse.
Bad News Panda.
SJ.
Polpetta giving money to their fave creators. I don't know if I said this, but this is a list that you get for supporting the show at the $10 level. We will say your name because we love you. I love you personally.
Also, Polpetta, I believe Polpetta has did a huge write-up. I think they're one that did like a huge write-up about like Ardling lore in the Resubian channel, which I'm like, part of me wants to steal some of this. Ariadna the Human.
Zagul will remember this.
Ghost Almost.
This really reminds me back in the day when the credits was its own show. You remember? And we used to read the names for hours. Sire of Damnation.
Colm O'Donnell.
Grabknots, the grabber of knots.
Mr. Pear.
Julius funneling money to Florida.
The Space Fighters say go AVS.
I think that's go Avs, the Avalanche.
Go Avs. Right.
I assume we've got a hockey fan on our hands here.
Yeah.
Dress Day.
Copperhead, professional GM on startplaying.games. I bet he's super fun to play with.
We wouldn't have let him on the list if he wasn't. We got the most appropriate name here. Someone changed their name to In Memory of Johnny Maloney. Your performances will cause joyous laughter long after you've passed. Thank you.
True. Meanwhile, a burnt grill plate from a Korean barbecue.
Eric Ogren remembered the Patreon tier update.
Concept The Moist, creating undersea dungeoneering experiences.
Nicole is turning gender change into gender cash.
Get that gender money, you know. Regrettably, me.
Caroline just wrapped up her Valentine campaign, Keep Valentine Weird.
Another real one there. Everyone should just read Caroline's Valentine campaign write-up, because it's very wild seeing her approach to Valentine in contrast to yours.
I think everyone agrees theirs is better than mine. We don't have to put too fine a point on it. We don't have to linger that I got destroyed and owned.
Lime.
Man, my other patronees are going to be really confused.
That is true. Tara is now doing her magical girl transformation. Congrats.
Egon.
Philip Mitchell.
Elfrona, a.k.a. Elnix Jonask, a.k.a. the Thieving Squirrel, a.k.a.
Michael Wayne, Spirit of Hata Liore, Lorelei Seth giving you a big hug while Jane Doe plays in the background.
Sorry, I always mispronounce your name, Michael Wayne. I'm stupid. Lumentus.
Eardrum Espresso.
Kyle Hill.
The Peroni.
C.A. Little.
Emil Agard Bobjurg.
We're both from Florida. Come on, they don't teach us anything here.
I'm also technically from New Jersey and Toledo, which is both Ohio and Michigan. So
it's all bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Steffi K.
Christ, man. Remembering the 21st night of September.
You gotta do that. Pumpkin Spice itself.
Dust in Dark Water.
Simon Lee, Conduit of Chungus, Bearer of Dinkus, Minion of John Con.
I'm only happy when it rained and the Patreon demon.
Wishbone is gay.
A gambling pig started playing Magic again because of Austin and Quinn.
I'm so sorry. No, I've ruined it. I've messed up so bad. It's not a good game. Aaron Norgard.
Squishy Fishy.
Graffiti.
Bones.
Toshirakuru strangely returned after life lost them. Life was capitalized. It intrigued me.
A werewolf is an Odyssey-pilled Honda cell.
Okay. Yeah. Conduit of Snacks.
Kinikufan.
Miles and Danny love Dice Funk forever.
A good Brent, Mr. Blue Sky for Let's Talk About Snacks podcast.
Midlife Stasis targeted by the cat distribution system.
Spaghetti-O moment.
Sir Alistair Octopus.
Faith and Valor.
Bleaker.
Matt Lactus doesn't have the mental energy to update their Patreon name anymore, but still listens to every episode avidly.
Ed. I got the easiest one. Just 2 letters. Ed.
Juman Jack.
Francois V. A deleted scene, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Marcus Levin or Loven.
And finally, Brent, still every episode of Dice Funk Goatly. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for listening. I will see you soon and every week until they stop me. Until someone steps in.
Also, to toot my horn, I want to make a point that for the as of this recording, this being the week after GDC, that for the 2 episodes of Dice Funk that posted while I was out of the state of Florida, I still found a way to edit and upload the YouTube video side of the podcast because I have irrationally made efforts to make sure I can remote connect to my computer in Florida to edit and upload the videos in increasingly more deranged manners. So, you know,
we're unstoppable.
Listen, you know, like you and I have an unhealthy obsession about this schedule and making sure that we keep the pace here. And for me, it's mostly just for the challenge. It's for the love of the game, really, for me.